Madam Toastmaster, Toastmasters, and guests. As my presidency comes to a close, I've been reflecting on what I've learned this year as the president of Public Speaking Northwest, and I wanted to share a little bit of that with you. As you know, Public Speaking Northwest is an award-winning club. In fact, as I just announced, we've recently earned the President's Distinguished Award. We have a steady stream of visitors and new members. We have a great website and a welcoming culture and a strong presence in district leadership. And I take almost no credit. I take no credit for any of that because most of that was well in place when I stepped into the role. Our Toastmasters Club limits, in fact, Toastmasters International limits the presidency role to 1 year or 2 6-month terms. So while the title of presidency sounds impressive, it's actually a very limited role, and maybe that's a good thing. Like the American democracy that we are celebrating today, Toastmasters is governed by a division of powers and responsibilities. We have officers, we have bylines, we have Toastmasters International, and we have a system in place so that no one carries the entire organization. And because Public Speaking Northwest is such a healthy club, the president's role has been relatively easy. That's because I have a wonderful team. I have had the privilege of serving with Nancy, our VP of Education, who is also our webmaster, and Kelly, our VP of Public Relations and Smiling and Marketing, Katie, our VP of our Sergeant of Arms, rather, who's always here to tell us what we're supposed to do on Zoom calls, and she also brings the things to the meetings when we meet in person. Deanna, our treasurer, always knows exactly how much money is in the bank. Bill, our secretary, has done a great job of keeping track of everything, every little detail. And Maria, our VP of membership, was probably the first friendly email that you received when you reached out to us. These officers have done the heavy lifting, and have not left me to do this job independently. In many ways, they've simply let me press the start button. Sorry, when my son River was 3 years old, we lived in an old apartment building in Los Angeles. That building had an elevator that sometimes worked. Now, I prefer to take the stairs, but River loved that elevator. He especially loved pressing the button, so we all sort of played along and let him do that. And honestly, that's a little bit of how I have felt about serving as the president of this organization. To be clear, someone does have to press the button if the elevator is going to go up. So today I want to talk a little bit more about what that button is, what the president's role actually is, and the basic responsibilities, and also just what I have learned over the last year. So the basic responsibilities are fairly simple. Start and conclude the meeting, lead the officers' meetings, and attend district officer training. Of course, I would also need to step up if there was ever any special need, but to be honest, this club is so well run, there has been no need for that really. So to begin, one of my biggest responsibilities has simply been to show up on time, watch the clock, and step up to the microphone at noon to begin the meeting. And it's an easy task. Almost anyone could do it, but it's also a crucial task because if no one starts the meeting, then the meeting doesn't start on time. So start on time, end on time, keep everything going. It sounds really simple, but in a distracted world, it's really helpful to have at least one person paying attention to the clock. And the same is true for officers' meetings. Starting and ending on time is a skill that we wish that more leaders had. I learned to create an agenda and I stuck to it to honor people's time. We meet just once a month, so there was never too much business to cover. It was really just a matter of me keeping the ship moving in the direction that others before me had already started. And the third responsibility was attending district officer meetings. And while that sounds more difficult than it actually is, it's actually very easy. Our District 2, is large, and there were multiple opportunities to attend trainings. Both trainings I attended were online, both were at convenient times, and both times I learned something really helpful. In fact, at the first district training that I attended, someone said, the president sets the tone for the club. And I wrote that down on a sticky note and I put it on my computer monitor. And I took it to heart because I wanted to remember that part of my role was to open our meetings with a positive tone. This club has always been positive and encouraging, but that positive tone really starts in small ways like, hello, welcome, a smile. I'm so glad you're here. And that has taught me something else really important that I wanted to share. And that is that hospitality matters. When I was younger, I used to think of hospitality as inviting someone over into my home for dinner. But what I've learned through this club is that hospitality is not just about inviting someone into your home. Hospitality is wherever you are. It's inviting people and welcoming them into any sphere of your life, into a meeting, into a club, into a room where they don't know anyone, onto a Zoom call. And that's something that this club does very well. We do that by offering bits of stories of ourselves, by listening to each other, by offering genuine encouragement. The other thing that I've really learned is that agendas are really useful. And that is something that I've learned to appreciate because agendas are a beautiful thing. The structure of an agenda helps people to know what to expect, to feel heard. It allows concerns to be addressed while respecting everyone's time. And now I use agendas more intentionally in the meetings that I run for other volunteer organizations because I found that they really are helpful. They help us keep focused, keep things moving, and it reminds us that we're here for a shared purpose. So, as I look back over this year, I'd like to say that the president's role is not a heavy one, but it is a responsibility. And like my 3-year-old son, I've had the privilege of pressing the elevator button. And now, as I step aside, I'm more than happy to pass that joy on to our next president. Bill, the button is all yours.